Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Matthew Chahadi, the molecular baraminologist, and so in this video we're going to examine what is baraminology. Creation science has several areas, and in biology there is a certain science called baraminology which deals with the science of the created kinds. So how do we what is baraminology all about? Where do we find the idea of the created kinds? Let's go to Genesis chapter 1 verses 11 to 12, which says, "And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind, on the earth. And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good." But besides plants, Genesis 1 also talks about different kinds of animals in verses 20 to 21. "And God said, let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens. So God created the great sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. God saw that it was good." So we see that the Bible describes species and animals and organisms differently from our modern mindset. It's important that when we approach the text of Scripture, we shouldn't force our modern mindset onto the Bible. We shouldn't try to force our Latin binomial nomenclature onto the text of the Scripture. So we see that according to the Bible, a kind is a reproductive community, that there is variation within a kind. And so let's dispel a couple of myths here. Now you might have all heard about the so-called fixity of species, that according to this concept, each and every single species is like a blade of grass. It's fixed, it's unchanging, it's constant all throughout time, ever since creation. Now again, as we saw previously, this is a myth, that the Bible does allow for some variation within a kind. The Bible does not talk about fixity of species. So we shouldn't let skeptics or atheists bash us over the head with a false straw man argument such as this. So this picture is not true. The Bible also does not talk about the evolutionary tree. Nowhere does the Bible mention the word evolution. It does not use concepts which are used in evolutionary biology. So this concept is also false. It is foreign to the Bible. But so then what kind of picture does the Bible present to us? It talks about the so-called neo-creationist orchard, that we have different kinds, and each kind is like a tree in a big orchard that God created during Creation Week. And so we see that on the dotted line, that's Creation Week, and that's when species were created by God, each within their own bounds, within their own kind. And so, for example, that's why we have cats. This is an example of a tigon, which is a cross between a tiger and a lion. And also, this is a coy wolf, which is a cross between a coyote and a wolf. So we can see that there are cats, there are dogs. These are separate kinds of animals, and therefore animals within a kind, they can interbreed, but animals between two kinds, they cannot interbreed. That's why we don't see cats breeding with dogs. That's simply incompatible. We also do not see chimpanzees breeding with humans. Humans, we are our own kind, the humankind. And also here, lastly, let's take a look at a wapin, which is a cross between a whale and a dolphin. So you can see that there is evidence, quite abundant actually, which show that there are hybrids, where there are animals which can interbreed with one another within a kind. And some of these hybrids, they also occur naturally. For example, here is a tree of the cat kind. This is the cat tree in the creationist orchard, and we have 38 species of cat in black. And we can see that there are various lines connecting different species of cat to one another. So, for example, Down at the bottom you have the leopard, the lion, the jaguar, and the tiger, and the snow leopard. These are large cats. These lines, they show which of these cat species can interbreed with one another. So we can see that there's quite a bit of interbreeding within the cat kind. There's a lot of proof for these kinds of genesis. This is a more accurate depiction of the neo-creationist orchard. There's the blue line in the middle of each of the trees, which designates the flood. That in the beginning we have different kinds of animals, and they varied within kind. They gave forth new species. There was natural selection, and new animals and new species came forth. And then at the time of the flood, Noah took on board two of each of these different kinds onto the ark. And so that's how he was able to save all the animals on board the ark. And that also gives us a proof as to how Noah could have saved space on board the ark. He didn't have to take on board every single species that came about up until that point. And then after the flood was over, variation within the kind, it resumes, and so that's why we see variation happening within a kind up until the modern day, which is at the very top of this diagram. And so, again, where does Baraminology get its name? It comes from two Hebrew words. The first one is bara, which means that he created, that is, God created the heavens and the earth, plus the word min, which means kind or type or class or a group of organisms that interbreed but which do not interbreed with other organisms. And there's also the Greek word logos, which means science or knowledge, and if you put together these three words, you get the name Baraminology.